Hi guys, welcome to Just Right. I'm Paul Manicone. Thank you for joining me. Today I want to talk about plagiarism and the stealing of ideas within the Democrat Party. First, we'll start with Joe Biden. Here he is plagiarizing Senator Robert Kennedy almost word for word.
And in Ronald Reagan's America, the standard has been wealth, economic success, and personal gain, the bottom line. But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children.
If the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children,
The quality of our education.
the quality of their education,
The joy of their play.
or the joy of their play,
It doesn't measure the beauty of our poetry, the strength of our marriages,
it does not include the beauty of our poetry or the strength of our marriages,
the intelligence of our public debate,
the intelligence of our public debate,
the integrity of our public official.
or the integrity of our public officials.
It counts neither our wit nor our wisdom, neither our compassion nor our devotion to our country.
It measures neither our wit nor our courage, neither our wisdom nor our learning, neither our compassion nor our devotion to our country.
That bottom line can tell us everything about our lives except that which makes life worthwhile. And it can tell us everything about America except that which makes us proud to be Americans.
It measures everything in short, except that which makes life worthwhile. And it can tell us everything about America, except why we are proud that we are Americans.
Here's Joe copying President Kennedy.
Let us pledge that our generation of Americans will pay any price. We shall pay any price. Bear any burden. Bear any burden. And meet any hardship. Meet any hardship. To secure the blessings of prosperity and the promise of opportunity for our children. To assure the survival and the success of liberty.
And finally, here's Joe copying British politician Neil Kinnock.
And I started thinking as I was coming over here, why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first Kinnock in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Is it because I'm the first Biden in 1,000 generations to get a college and a graduate degree?
Why is Glenys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Was it because they were weak? Those people who could work 8 hours underground and then come up and play football?
Is it because they didn't work hard? My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania and would come up after 12 hours and play football for 4 hours?
It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
Now, why am I telling you this when Joe's out of the race? It's because Kamala's doing the exact same thing. Here she is talking to Jimmy Fallon about the civil rights movement.
We're all born as leaders, and then it's just a matter of when you decide to turn that on, and these kids inspire me like you can't believe. So there are a lot of good stories.
Did you get that energy from your parents, or the thought of, hey, I have to fight for what's right, and I got to get out there? And I mean, when were you out there protesting?
Well, I was in a stroller. And so I was out there, and in fact, my mother used to have a very funny story about I was fussing, and she said, "Kamala, what do you want?" And I said, and this is how she would say it, and she said, "Kamala, what do you want?" And I said, "Freedom."
No. Oh, come on. Freedom.
It was a much cuter story when she would tell it, but that's the story she told.
That didn't happen. It comes from an interview that Martin Luther King gave to Playboy magazine in 1965. It reads as follows. I will never forget a moment in Birmingham when a white policeman accosted a little Negro girl, 7 or 8 years old, who was walking in a demonstration with her mother. What do you want? The policeman asked her gruffly, and the little girl looked him straight in the eye and answered, feed him. She couldn't even pronounce it, but she knew. It was beautiful. It's a great story, and I understand why she'd want to make it hers, but it's not. She stole it from Dr. King. Now here she is saying that Tim Walz missed her phone call.
I was hoping maybe we wouldn't have to.
I called you, Tim.
Yes.
You didn't answer, Tim.
I know.
What happened?
The most important call of my life. It popped up, and we didn't recognize the caller ID, and it went to voicemail.
Hi, this is Jim. I'm not able to answer.
There you go.
Responsible. Thank you.
Hey, Tim, it's Kamala. I really want to talk to you.
She got this from J.D. Vance.
So how did you feel when you got the call from Trump? You know, you and I talked when you weren't even in politics.
Yeah.
You had just returned to Ohio from San Francisco. You were telling me you just couldn't take like the people openly defecating on the sidewalks. It was a lot from this kid, from, Midwest. You weren't even in politics. And now, flash forward 8 years later, you get the call from President Trump asking you to be his running mate. How did he put it to you? How did he ask you? And how did it feel?
Well, the funny thing, Megan, is we're in the hotel room in Milwaukee. We had just arrived. He apparently called, and I didn't see the call. I guess it went straight to voicemail or something. So I call him back, and he answers the phone. He says, JD, you missed a very important phone call. Maybe I'll have to give this to somebody else.
And just to prove they think the American people are stupid, watch this next clip.
Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, I want you to do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President.
The joy that you're bringing back to the country, the enthusiasm that's out there, it would be a privilege to take this with you across the country.
They just happened to have a camera crew in Tim's house. That was obviously staged too. They really think we're idiots. And by the way, did you notice he used the word joy when he said, I love the joy you're bringing back to this country? That's deliberate. Listen to Megyn Kelly explain.
The media, meantime, is leaning hard into the fabrications around the new Kamala because the fantasy must be created, this false image must be created and built up and supported. The nonstop cackle, which is she just sounds like a moron. I mean, she does the cackle in response to awkward situations in which she clearly doesn't know what to say. She's stumped yet again because she doesn't seem like a very smart person. So she's stumped a lot. So she just uses the cackle. And instead, what they've done is try to rebrand this as she's joyful. That's her being such a joyful person. Just listen to the Pravda media. This is just from like 1 hour of MSNBC this morning on the joyful message.
This joy, this campaign of infectious and dynamic joy.
Tear these two very positive, joyful, energetic people down. Embrace the joy, which you see them doing. There's a lot of joy, a lot of optimism out of the box.
And the vice president has spoken to this eloquently with great joy, great enthusiasm. And joy, I think, is a great word because you can see this in Tim Walz.
This week for Democrats has been, not to overuse this word, such a joyful one.
It was literally 1 hour.
So when you hear the word joy or joyful, just remember that's the media's excuse for Kamala's stupid cackle she uses to hide her incompetence. Now let's go to the most recent steal.
And it is my promise to everyone here, when I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America. Including to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
No tax on tips. Sounds great, right? That's a great idea. That's why Trump said it more than 2 months ago.
At the center of our plan for economic relief are massive tax cuts for workers that include something else that's turned out to be very popular, actually. Here it's very popular in this building and all those hotels that I saw that are so nice. I'm staying in a nice one. It's called no tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on tips.
By the way, this is how CBS portrayed the exact same policy. Former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years. Now let's see how they covered Kamala. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. Not a thing about what it would cost, right? Trump had a great idea, Kamala stole it, and the media praises her for it. Everything about Kamala Harris is fake, including her campaign. Let's go to Primanti Brothers. It's a restaurant in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that she and Tim visited on the campaign trail. These are the patrons inside who are so excited to see her.
Bring it back. Absolutely. Sorry. Just push back a little bit. Have you been reading it? You have? That's right.
You might look at this and say, what's the big deal? She's mingling with her supporters. The problem is, they're not supporters. They're actors. The real patrons were forced to leave so they could ship in these actors to pretend to support her. Here are the real patrons of the restaurant who were forced to wait outside.
They kicked us out of Primanti Brothers. They said it's a problem. They're terrible. You are terrible people.
Tell us again, what happened at Primanti Brothers?
They kicked us out of Primanti Brothers so that they could get the paid actors inside.
Ridiculous.
Yes. So there's all the paid actors.
Look at all these people. My God.
Holy hell. All these actors in these vans.
I know.
And this isn't the first time Kamala used actors. Do you remember when she sat down with kids to talk about space?
Kamala Harris is the Vice President of the United States, but she's also the President of the Senate and the head of the Space Council.
Well, welcome, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Ready to start? Okay, go.
So I may not always be fast to take my parents' advice, but what is the best advice your parents have given you that perhaps you can share with us today?
You know, one of the most important pieces of advice that I can offer you guys, and I want you to really remember this, never let anybody tell you who you are. You tell them who you are. Never let anybody suggest to you that you are what they think you should be. You tell them who you are and who you know you are and what you intend to be. Got that?
Yes.
All right. I got more advice. You just let me know.
Not only was that question staged, meaning Kamala knew the question the kid was going to ask, but that child, along with all the other children in that video, were all paid actors. Here they are masking up before they started filming. Here's one of the child actors talking about it.
The special features 5 teens from across the country, including our very own Central Coast backyard.
Hi, my name is Trevor, and I'm from Monterey, California.
The teens are actors who audition for their spots. Trevor Bernardino is a freshman at York School in Monterey and a space enthusiast. He says he had to send in a monologue of him talking about something he's passionate about.
And then after that, like a week later, my agent called me and he's like, "Hey Trevor, you booked it." Me, my mom, my dad, we were speculating who could be this important that we meet them in DC and we get to go on this cool trip and film. The most exciting part was definitely meeting Vice President Harris. There's nothing that can top that.
Everything about Kamala Harris is fake. She cannot come up with a single idea on her own, which is why she has to steal things from President Trump. And she's probably going to do this going forward. What's next? Is she going to want to build a wall? I wouldn't doubt it. They're already claiming that she's tough on the border. Have you seen that ad? It's laughable.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
I feel like it's a joke. It's insane for us to believe for 1 second that Kamala Harris was tough on the border. It also shows how little respect they have for the American people. The Democrats lie, cheat, and steal. Always remember that. Everything they say is either a lie, everything they accuse you of doing, they're doing, or when they start to say things that kind of make sense, like no taxation on tips, just remember, those ideas and others, they're stealing from someone else. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying to the end. Do me a favor, give me a thumbs up. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. Share this video, and please comment. I answer all of the comments. Thank you, and I hope to see you on the next one.
On the political scene, one of the Democratic candidates is Senator Joseph Biden. Have you seen the problem he's been having? He went around and made a speech. And apparently, he quoted I think it was a British politician, took his speech and kind of paraphrased it as his own. And then the press got on him, and then he was charged also with taking part of Bobby Kennedy's speeches. And Biden says, not to worry, he reassured his staff. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.